I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if it is visible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry I could not join yesterday's call. I'm getting adjusted to this timing. Okay.
Okay, no worries.
No
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, it won't be problem going forward. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So, just a quick recap what we discussed on the last call.
Mm.
Last call we discussed about the inheritance, right? OOPS concept we started. We covered the access specifiers, public, private, protected for the variables, for the methods. Yeah, and class we also discussed basically the encapsulation and the constructor, how to call the base class constructor, how to initialize a parent class object using a child class, like child class initially using a child class, and vice versa is not allowed. All these things we discussed. So today we'll be focusing on the abstraction, and that will cover abstract method, virtual abstract class, abstract method, virtual class, virtual method, and we'll see what are the next topic of the syllabus, and based on that we'll proceed. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and also I shared the GitHub handle, so you can see the source code, right? I'm just preparing the code. Like instead of creating a documents, everything will be in the code. Okay, so just did you try to access that link?
Yeah, I did. I saw a few folders like C sharp
Yeah,
training, data types.
yeah.
Yeah.
So everything I'm just arranging. Okay, so first training means data types. Okay, so in data types, you can see first is data types. You have to go to data types. So I just created for the numerical types. Okay, because everything covering to cover in the session is not possible. So I covered like I just created the document for the basic types, uh, and going forward I will keep on adding, so you can refer anytime. Like when you go for a real-time project, so you want to refer something, you can just come here and just pick the thing and do. You don't need to Google also. Similarly, loops and condition test, while for loop, while loop, or each loop. Okay, and operators is also I start with a switch because these are the like major thing I have covered, but there are other operators like plus, plus plus, and operator, right, and or XOR. So that all but I will also add it here. Okay, and that those things
Okay.
also we discussed during if else conditions. So I'm talking about this. These are also called operators, right? So
Mm.
those operators, basic operators, I have not discussed much, but I'll add it to this, and you can refer from here. Okay. Also, wherever I refer something from my own, I gave the link also. Okay. Yeah, I've given the link. So also I covered the this one typecasting, conversion, boxing, unboxing, the conversion of the different data type to another type. All this I have also added the on this one. So you go through those. Okay, you go through each one. Very very small description. I have not added much much of the theories here. And if you want to go deep, also you have given you the link, or you can just simply just type, okay, and go to the
Okay.
Microsoft official site. Okay, it will have better information. And you can refer Stack Overflow, Geek for Geeks, a lot of other mm, available portal also. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the ongoing task. I'll keep on committing the code. You can download the code. And before we start, also I want to know: are you familiar with GitHub? You know how to clone the repo, how to commit your changes. Are you aware of that?
Uh, Actually, I've used it, but I'm not very like it's been
Yeah.
a 10 years, right? So
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. No, not issue. So we,
yeah.
we will do one thing. We'll after the completion of Shisha, we'll have another session on using the tools, because that is also very important. People when go, after training, they go for the interviews and they show the experience and they start working. Many of people, face issues not on the coding side, because that is already available on the, you can copy any code from using Google. But
Hmm.
how to use those tools, like how to debug, how to put a breakpoint, how to get into a method, like you're calling a method. So
Hmm.
just and there is another line after that method. So you want to go to that line or go inside the method. So you have to use F10 if you want to go to the another line. But if you want to go
Hmm.
inside the method, then you have to do F11.
F11.
F11. You have to see the definition of a method. You have to do F12. Then if you want to see the call stack, like enter flow of the method, you can go click on this, yeah, Windows and view call stack. Okay, maybe because this is a community edition, call stack is not provided. So you can see the call stack also. Okay. So all the
Okay.
things, or maybe when you start running, you can see the call stack. So you can see, and there's a and there output windows. Output windows you can see like debugging happening. What are debugging steps? And if you're running console some console.debug, then if you write anything on the console.debug, all those things will be appear here. Okay, then there's a find window, there is a reference window, and during debugging also you want to do some on the fly code manipulation. You can use this window. Then there is a watch, like you can right click and click on the fly when the code is running. You can right click and do a quick watch. Okay, so all these
Mm.
basic things we will cover. Yeah. Okay, so let's not waste our time. We will see in another class. Let's start. Jump in the training. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we were on the inheritance, and inheritance we have not discussed. Like internal, we have not discussed. We discussed, but we have not touched. That will come back. Okay. So all you aware of the this one, right? Scope of the variable, like access specifier plus scope. So public
Mm.
private protected. You are clear, right? What is public?
Yes.
Public you can access outside the class. Protected only the inherited class can access. Uh,
Yeah.
and private nobody can access, only accept inside the class. If you want to access another way to access a method is that you could or variable or property you by declaring it as static. Okay,
Mm.
so this is another way. So yeah, let's jump into the abstraction section. So in abstractions, we'll be discussing virtual class, virtual method, abstract class, abstract method, and also there's something called interface. Okay, these three things we'll discuss. So mm, yeah. Mm, okay, let me take another class. Okay, class file. So
Okay.
right click, add new item. I hope you're practicing, so you are aware of the steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ideally inheritance, we should have discussed the interface, but we'll discuss it here. Okay, because abstraction and inheritance are actually all those concepts. Like when we cover encapsulation, inheritance, then abstractions, okay, method overloading, overriding, all are related. Okay, and since you're little bit familiar on the C sharp, I will tell you once you complete the course, or especially the basic part, you can refer
Mm.
different design patterns. Like we have 22 patterns. Okay, I don't want to discuss here. It will be too much of a high level. So you can use those patterns to understand. Okay. Also, we will touch upon something called solid principle. Okay, when we will discuss the MVC. Okay. Yeah. So abstraction. So to discuss abstractions, what I'll do is I will create a parent class. So there's something, one concept called virtual and pure virtual. So virtual and pure virtual means I'll show you the difference. Okay. Uh,
Mhm.
we do not use that keyword in .NET. Rather, you use a virtual class and abstract class. So we will start with the virtual class. Okay? Especially sorry, virtual methods. It's a bit confusing. So yeah. I already touch upon these things in the last class, but I need to reiterate because we have to discuss these things. Property we will discuss later. Mm, okay, and I will take another class. Okay,
Mhm.
so I have discussed these things on the in the last class that how to hide. It is virtualization is the way we are actually you know I, so, like One is we are actually hiding the method. Okay, hiding the method. Another is that we actually giving options to the like to the API developers or users of this APIs or this class, that you can have your own implementation or you can use our implementation. So what does that mean? I will tell you. So here, see, we are not getting any compilation error. Okay, what we are getting, um, when you say this, when we are not overriding means, although the method signatures are all same, you can still create a same signature method in the child. Okay, it will not give an error. So when you create a reference of the child will be executed. Okay. If you want to
Mm.
call this parent method, you can use this method to call a parent method inside the child. Okay, like this.
Okay.
Yeah. But in real sense, we don't do that. Okay, we when somebody is writing virtual, either use that method as is or use override keyword. Okay, it's not a good design practice to have the same method name, same name. You should override that one. Okay, if
Mm.
let's say the parent method is already written. Okay, okay, I'll write another method. And while it is very old code, okay, this parent method, and they asked you not to touch upon this, no changes to be done. Then you just do one thing, you at least use a new keyword. Okay, both are valid. But when you are designing a fresh applications, let's say they asked you to create a database connection class, okay, and they asked you that you write to connect to that to SQL Server, like to do SQL Server operation to the SQL Server database. But they ask that in future we may not use SQL Server. We may go to MongoDB or maybe some Oracle DB or some other DB MySQL. Okay. So what you do, you create a virtual class called test connect to DB, connect to
Mm.
SQL, connect to DB. Okay, don't mention this one. And you write your SQL Server implementation, but make it virtual. Now, when somebody is using that class, before they will not use that directly. Rather, they will create a child class. Okay, so they will say that okay, child SQL class, or like child SQL connection class, and they will in that case they will not override. Okay, and when they create a child object, since it is not overridden, and somebody call the child object dot connect to database, uh, the parent method will be called because he has not overridden. Okay, if you
Mm.
override, then let's override and you create a connection code for
Then
Oracle,
the child
then
will be called.
will be
Mm.
called. Okay, so I think you know,
Mm.
but I'm just recapping. Okay,
Okay. Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. Uh, so this is how we do that. And remember one thing, when you're writing a virtual method or virtual property we have not discussed, we'll come back to that again. Okay.
Mm.
So you have an options to override, it is optional. But when you have an abstract class, okay, then you cannot, declare this one. It has to be compulsorily overridden. How? I'll show you. Abstract test class I created. Okay. Then we are getting an error. What error we getting? Let's discuss.
They already
Yeah.
defined the mem.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, okay, the error is so here when you declare abstract class, you can write abstract method and non-abstract method. Okay, so when
Okay.
you write abstract method and non-abstract method, that means uh, this class you cannot create an object. So let me try to create an object of this class in another class. First thing we need to learn. Okay, class test abstraction. Uh, so public void test method test. Yes, test. Yes, test. So obj is equal to what happened? What error is it? Cannot create an instance of the abstract type or interface. Yes, test means abstract class. You cannot create a object. Okay,
Mm,
object cannot be created.
great.
So why it is like that? Because this is these are called base classes. Okay, this class will provide you a either they will provide a definition of the method. Okay, where you can go and see. Okay, these are the signature should be like this. But implementation they leave it to the user. So
Mm,
you have a scenario where you are like you are new to the project and you're not sure. For example, let's go to the database connections. Okay, you're not sure which database to connect. So they will tell you that the connection method. Okay, the
mm,
connect to the database method. You create your own implementation. Okay, you provide a definition for that method how to connect. But let's say I want to add to the some insert update, all those things you don't write anything. Okay, that will be written in the child class. Then in that case you will go for abstract class where you'll provide a default functionality. You can provide a default functionality as well as you can also leave the implementation to the child class. Okay, and that is why and this class has to be compulsorily inherited. You cannot create an object of this one. Okay.
mm,
Yeah. So that's the one benefit of that. But if you are like, let's say you have a normal class and you want to make a method work, want to provide default implementation as well as you want the user to have this or child class to have his own implementation, you can go for virtual. Okay, so as earlier, like usually when we have a normal class, we use virtual, but we know that we have to have a class which has to be abstract. Like we want that class to be a base class, and it should not be uh, it should not be inherited. Okay, it should not be.
in real time, what is the scenario for having an abstract class?
I will tell you. Okay,
Okay.
one example. There are a lot of examples. I gave you one database scenario. So basically, what we do is we create entities, right? Entities means I have a table called student table.
Mm,
Okay. Then I have another table called teacher table. So I have a database, student database. I have various tables, but I have some common properties. Okay. So one of the properties is that your ID column, then your modified date modified by. Okay. So
mm,
let me do that. So I'll create a base entity. Okay. I should not have discussed now, but since you asked. And also, it is good when you do training, like while teaching only, we should cover the some of the practical concept also. So what I'll do is I have public int ID, okay, public string. So this property I have not discussed, so that's why I was not covering.
that's it.
But let's property is same as variable, okay. Only getter setter is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So you can treat property as variable. Then public string, I will just use this two, okay, modified by. And yeah, let's take modified. It is very simple example. Okay, there are a lot of other example also, but just to simplify you. Okay, so this one, see, this entity, does it mean anything? Does it represent anything in the real sense? It doesn't make any sense. Student, I created a class called student, so I have some variables called student ID. I'm doing some operations. I create
Mm,
student, insert student, so that makes some sense in terms of real world. You're doing operation on something, but this entity doesn't represent anything on
mm,
a real, if you in terms of business it doesn't represent anything. So it is abstract, means you cannot use it directly. It has to be used by someone else. So let's say I
got it.
created a student entity. That's why this is called abstract, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm,
by default, student will have all these objects. Okay. If you
Okay.
go inside student, you can see all the objects will be created. Now, if somebody told, okay, I you have to check if modified date is the correct name or not. Okay. So what I'll do is uh, public abstract, because this modified by is actually a entity of a, or property of this entity, right? So I should not do
Mm.
any operation outside of that. Okay, anybody is inheriting, they should have this default implementation. So what you do is mm, abstract modified by public string and get, or validate modified by, return a method. But I don't know what validation I have to do. Okay, so sorry, you should not provide the definition. So uh, compulsorily all the base classes has to do this. Okay, it will give error, right? So I have to
Mm-hmm.
implement this one. So I don't know what validation they do, but they have to do the validation. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that depends
Okay.
on those child classes, but they have to do. In that case, I will declare as abstract, but I want to make it optional. Okay, the date validation I want to, if they are not putting the date, okay, let it be null. So what I'll do is I will provide a validate date. Okay, and I'll say that if modified date less than date time dot now. Okay,
Date.
so an exception. Okay,
Mm.
so yeah, modified date. Okay,
String. Okay.
yeah, understood, clear. So
Yeah. Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
yeah. Since we just I'll touch upon the property. So properties of same is variable, and instead of when we do a global declaration, okay, in a class level, inside inside method, go for your go for variable, but outside of the class, go for property. Okay, and
Mm.
property we will discuss later. Okay, so because I need to discuss getter setters, then read all the constants that I have not covered. So during that, I'll tell you. Okay, so string validate date. What happened? Return true. Okay, return true. So you understood?
Yeah.
Somewhere you want to give definitions. Okay, and somewhere you want the people to provide definition, but they have to provide. You want to force them to do that. Then go for abstract.
Mm.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah,
and
I
in
got
this
it.
place, and you are also forcing that you cannot create of this one. So sometimes what happens is you have some of the logic which they should not touch also. Like they should use it, but they should not directly call it. Like you want to restrict your class to be used by your developers. Like say you create an abstract class, and within the class only, abstract class, and then you create a child class. On the child class only you want to use that those methods or those code, not outside of the class. Like you restrict the user to not to create the object of the class. Then you go for abstract. Okay, and this is
Can
one
you
way.
can you repeat the last line? What you said?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you want to have a class created where you do not want somebody to call the methods or logic inside the class directly. Rather, it has to be called inside a child class or which the class which inherits. Then go for a abstract class. Example,
Okay.
you have a very complex business logic. You're working on banking solutions, and the logic you've written is for you, and the source code is here in multiple places. Okay, the source code is being shared. So you have an internal team who is working on this piece of code, and there's another team who actually uses your code you, through DLL or something or a project reference they access. But you
Mm.
don't want that team to directly call those methods and all. So you create it abstract, and your team developers can inherit that class and they can do the code implementation. But once you package and give the code to others and they are calling your code, they cannot create object of this one. They have to go to the child class to access the parent class, right? In that way,
No,
you
yeah.
can also protect your code logic. Hmm.
Mm.
So just
And one
just
more thing, like the base class has a non-abstract this thing and method, right? The validate date or something. So
yeah,
that will be also available for the child
yeah, that
and
will also work. Yeah, because it is public, right? Both are public.
public.
So here,
Mm,
the difference is I'm given a definition. You can also override. You can write a bull. Okay, it will not give you error. But ideally, we should
okay.
not do that. Okay, what will happen is there are now a lot of tools now. So this is very bad design practice. Okay,
Oh, okay.
what will
Mm,
happen is nowadays companies are like having a code scanning tool. So just to because they have to write some vulnerability check, like are you writing a code which is may result in like you are writing a while loop, you have not closed it. You written a for loop, you have not closed it. You declare some variables, you are not using it. You are not following the coding conventions, like you are randomly declaring variables. All those, or you are like we are throwing an exception. We have not implemented this method. Okay, we have throwing an exception, but not giving any reason for that. No description is present. So there's a lot of code scanning tool. There is one example I can give you, Sonar. They will highlight this issue, and then you have to explain to your architects or leads why you written that code. Okay,
oh.
why you just make it virtual and override here. Why you're writing the same method? And it will be confusing. Okay, if
Mm,
somebody
mm,
going and
mm,
use it in future, he will not know whether you to use this or use that. So if you write a virtual, he knows that okay, this is default implementation. I have an options to use it or I can override it. If it is abstract,
mm,
I have to compulsorily provide a definition. Okay, in the child
mm.
class. Got it?
Got it. Yeah. And what is the name of the tool you said? That will find out.
Sonar Q.
So, okay.
Yeah, you can
Thank
Google
you.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
But those are not like that much important. Usually, no,
Mm, mm,
nobody else. But that's I'm talking about very good design practice. Okay.
mm. Yeah.
So yeah, we have to cover this. So you are understood the virtual class, virtual method.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, let me go to the syllabus and let's see what's the next topic. Um, so I'm just just referring you box control statements in a cover access modify class structures namespace package. Yeah. So in the class, yeah. So we are going good. So now we have covered abstractions and then virtual, pure virtual. Then next is we should cover. Okay, let me tell you briefly about the getter setter. Then we'll go to the next topic. Okay. I think we have covered most of the concept of this one. Only thing pending is the interface that I'll explain. But before that, let's touch upon the this one getter setter, or we call it property. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to call this method and test in the just want to run and see this method,
Yeah,
or it
sure.
is fine. Okay, let's do that. So where we have written is abstraction.cs in the oops concept, right? So yeah. And as I said, like we have various projects, and one project can refer by the other project. That's what we discussed that day, right? Let me see. This test project is .NET or .NET Core. It is .NET framework. So let's use the other one. Or it has also. Oh, this is also console activation. Fine. So abstractions, we will test it from here. Okay. So let's first test this one child class, and just quickly running. Okay, then you can. Yeah, see one thing you can also you notice, right? It also gives intelligence. That is called intelligence. Whenever you get a suggestion, it will if I'm making mistakes, it will ask you to correct the mistakes also.
Mm,
Yeah. Why it is not adding the reference? It should add, but I'm not sure why it is not adding. Okay, no problem. I will add myself. Yeah, one thing I'm not covered is the oops. That will come. Okay. Sorry, not oops. Namespace. We'll cover that one. But you, so far you're clear about the variables and sorry, variables, data types, and
Yeah.
class concept is so far clear, right? No issues.
Yes. Yes. The abstract and virtual, right?
Yeah. What happened? It is not taking. I okay. Maybe I was in the wrong file. I was editing the wrong file. Because I'm in this project, so I should use this file, right? I was using the wrong file. No problem. No, yeah, don't worry about the code. I'm just preparing fresh, clean code. Okay. So where you will, you can see, you don't have to go through this piece of code which I'm using for training. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. So coming back to this, we are try to call this test method. Okay. So I'll add some. Yeah. Another trick, if you're typing, you're typing something and you want to correct it or, auto generate, then you have to do control space. Okay.
Okay.
It will suggest, but if suggestion is not coming, you just, press control space together.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. So, oops. No, not parent, child object we need to create, right?
Yeah.
Child will call test method. Okay, I have created another class called child, so that's uh, okay. What I have to do is I have to tell that use okay, I will use same namespace. No, let's not discuss about the namespace. Whenever it comes, we will discuss. Okay.
Mm.
Then I have to make this class and child abstracted child. Okay, so child ABS I will give name. Just to avoid the naming confusion, naming convention. Okay, or to avoid the compilation error. So yeah, so this is our child class. Let's see, let's debug and see what's happening over there. I'll comment the rest of the code. Okay, and as you can see output window, you can see how the program is being compiled. Everything, see it when it is running, you can see the call stack. So call stack means, see this, uh, as you can see in the here I'm highlighting. Okay, I just
Mhm.
think, okay, it is telling where the call is being hit. If the call stack window is not open, you can see debug window call stack. It is very much useful because we use a class and child class, lot of okay. So sometimes some code is being exception is being thrown, but you don't know who has called the code. So that time it's very helpful. Debug windows call stack. Okay,
Okay.
and also, I'm again iterating. You can put a breakpoint by clicking here, remove the breakpoint, right click, disable the breakpoint. Same option available from here, okay, in the debug window, or you can press F9 to create a breakpoint and to remove a breakpoint. Okay, so I have two options. I will press F10 and go to the next method, next statement, or I want to go inside this statement. I will press F11.
Mm.
Okay. Hmm. So see, this child class method is called child class is called calling the parent class, and console.write line will be printed.
Okay.
Okay. Now, yeah. test method 2, same name I have given. So let's see which one is being called. This one or this one. So this is also that day also we covered, but
Mm.
again I'm just because this is interview questions. Okay, so no harm in repeating again. Okay,
Okay.
so let's see. I'm just directly running, not seeing anything. Okay, I did not call that method. No? I need to call. So using child class object, I'm calling this one. Okay.
Mm.
See, child class is called, not
Child.
the parent. Yeah. So the question is here. I want to call the base class method. This test method too. I have a same method name, but any other method, any other from this method, I want to call a parent method. How I will call? Tell me
That
what
base
I
dot
should call. Good. Dot test method two
this
or
method
test method
too.
one, whatever. Okay.
Mm.
But it should be public. If it is private, you cannot call. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Or protected, you can call. Yeah.
Mm.
These are protected and public. So these are the two ways. And then yeah, abstract method. So abstract. Okay. Okay. I did not try to override, so that's why I was giving error. Okay. So yeah, I've created abstract method, and now I am overriding that one. Okay. So let's see which one is it calling this one or not. So I use the test ABS. uh, Test method. Okay.
Mm.
So this is a very simple thing, but I'm just showing you, okay, how the code flow is happening. Yeah. And one very good example is this base entity, which is a practical example how you should write your
Mm.
best extract class. Okay. So ideally, when we'll discuss the entity framework, then also we'll cover these things. Okay. And
Okay.
yeah, so let's cover this next concept is interface. Okay. So these are called virtual methods. Okay. Uh, abstract class are called virtual class, and interface are called pure virtual. Okay, so earlier I gave a statement that there's something called virtual and pure virtual, but
Pure.
we do not use in .NET we do not use virtual and pure virtual. So somebody saying pure virtual means interface. Why? We will come to that. Okay, so yeah, before that I just forgot one more thing to discuss is properties, because that is now very necessary. So let's discuss the properties, then we'll go to that. Okay, so
Okay.
many a times we do some operations on the variables. Okay, and those are like specific to that variables. We can write another method to do that. Let's say that example. If somebody, you know, is writing, let's say, if somebody is writing, let me first write a class name and answer. If somebody is writing, entity, base entity,
You've given class.
yeah, so yeah, I, class, great. Inside the class, actually, because abstract encapsulation, right? So everything has to be written inside a class. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
I've written another. Okay, yeah, class is a class also you can write, but that's not a good concept. Not a good, practice. That is also another thing. Yeah. So I have a test entity called, let's say, date or ID. Okay. Now,
Mm.
if somebody is assigning a value to this ID, or let's not use this one, or variable data type called entity. If somebody is using this one, let's say public uh, class test entity test property, and I don't, and when somebody is assigning, you should, you want to restrict him that no, you cannot assign below one, below, it has to be greater than one. Okay. One way is to do that. You can declare unint, like unsigned integer. Okay. So it will prevent you from the negative. Like
Mm.
you cannot use negative value. That is fine. But let's say somebody tell, okay, use something below, above 10. Okay, the value ID
Mm.
should not be less than 10.
Less than
Then
10.
yeah, that's the custom logic. You now the compiler cannot do anything. You have to do something. So there is one way to do that, is that public validate int. You can write, sorry, public void or bool validate ID. I can write. Okay,
Mm.
and I can create this, inherit this property. So it will be available in the child class, not test property, the child class of the base entity. Then I can validate. Okay, if ID less than 10, then return false, else return.
True.
In this way, I can write, or I can write like this: if return ID less than 10. Okay, this is also one way, because result of this either true or false, right? That is what we want.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Now we have to, but the problem is that somebody is creating an object of this one. Okay, that he may
Mm.
not call this validate ID, right? He will simply start using ID. So what to do that? Then like how to, validate this one? So let's use something called getter setup. So getter setup means what? It is very simple. You have to give curly braces, get and set. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And sometimes I think nowadays compiler also supports, uh, I think get set directly. Okay. I have to check. I have not checked this latest syntax. Uh, I think you just have to mention like this. No. Okay, fine. This new implementation has come, but I have not checked that one. But mostly we use this one. Okay. So
Okay.
what is that? Curly braces, get colon and set colon. So uh, yeah. So here you can see there are two components. One is get and another is set. So in Java and all, they said they, or C# they use something called getter setter. And similarly, here we use get and set. Okay. So what do you mean by get? Get means when you are setting a value. Sorry, when you are first let's discuss the set. So when you're setting a value, you can do some operations, like you can accept the value, like if you want less than 10, you can throw an exception. Okay. Or if it is more than 10, you can accept it. When you're getting a value, you want to do value plus something, like whenever you're returning value, you should add some 10. Okay. So if somebody assigned a value 10, you can add 10 and you can return 20. Okay. So these are basically, yeah. So to give a better example, okay,
Mm.
I'll declare another variable. Okay, so ideally we declare this. So I'm just giving an practical example. Okay, ID. This is called, we call as local variable. Okay. And what to do is we write return ID. Now you can ask like why all this thing. We can simply write this one, right? Simply write a variable and you can do this. Right? The number of code has increased. So the benefit I will tell you. And sorry, no. So this is how actually the best example of get a setup. So yeah, here before returning the value, now the requirement they have been told that whatever value the ID will be, you have to add 10. Okay. Sometimes what happens is, let's say you have a something called uh, a property called gender. So whenever return, if gender is male, okay, there is another variable called gender. You have to check that variable. If gender is male, then return mr dot by default. Somebody's give his name as, let's say,
Mr.
Naresh, Mr. Naresh. Your name Suganya means Mrs. Suganya. So some default thing. But you don't have to write a code for again and again. You should not do string concatenation. Better you do this property. Okay. Now coming to back to our example, we have been told that whatever ID you will get, you have to add a you have to add 10 to that. How will do that? ID is equal to ID plus 10.
Mr.
Okay. And return ID. So now let's check this one. Okay. Hmm. And property is same as variable. Okay, you can assign it directly. Why it is giving error, but does not giving error there. Okay, we have to write inside a method. Okay, public void test testing testing property. Okay, so if I assign the value 10, now let's see what it is printing. Console.writeLine ID. Now let's use this test property class here. I will use this. Remove the namespace. What is the test property? Right. Test.
Yeah.
I'll comment this test property. Prop is equal to new test property. Okay. Now prop dot. What is the method name? Testing property. Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I came back here. Let's jump into this. See 30. Why 30? Oh, every time I'm inspecting, see, yeah. So, yeah. So what is happening is you saw right, the value started increasing because
Yeah.
initially I assigned 10, but whenever I'm inspecting, it is actually whenever I put a this one my cursor here, this code is being fired. Okay. So initially it was
Okay.
10 but 20 was there. Okay. then it becomes 30. Then whenever, how many times I go over my screen, it will start adding 10, 10, 10 to that value. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. So, yeah, there is another way, another use of this one is that, as I said, very, like this one, um, condition check, right? So I'll remove this one. I will check if value means incoming. Whenever somebody is assigning, then it is first stored in this value kind of keyword. Okay, value object. So value
Mm,
object, if it is, let's say, less than 10, then I make it by default 10. Okay. Else,
okay.
just use the ID is equal to value. Okay.
Mm.
So yeah, sorry. Not to this. Yeah, clear. Okay. So let's test this again. Test it again. Yeah, I go there, press F11. I'll go inside this. Since it is 10, it is assigning 10. Okay, I will just simply drag this yellow mark to up. Now again, I'm here. I'll make this value as, I can edit also. You can see, right? I hover
Mm-hmm.
around and it has become editable. So it is become, let's say, I declare 8. It becomes again 10, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So this is one way of using ID. Okay. Uh, this is one way. And this is like,
And that when you are getting and setting, you're using an underscore and ID, right? Is that how
that
it
is a,
is?
that is a naming convention. Okay, you can't like, we use a convention. That's why I use underscore. There's no need. You can just simply
Oh,
type a simple one. Okay. So just hold on. Let me write it. Okay.
okay.
So this is simple basic implementation. Okay. This is another implementation. This is simple basic implementation. First implementation is this one. Okay. Public date time modified by modified on. So this is a default implementation. When to do, getter setter using a private variable, you can do. So ideally what we would do is we take a private variable and we do the operations. Okay. You can see, right? And you want to do some basic validation, you can do. Also, sometimes they will say that, okay, just get the value. Okay. Get the
Mm.
value means how? Like you make it read only. Okay. So how to make it read only? Public integer, uh, I'll take string modified by. Okay. Okay. What I'll do is, I can simply write get also.
Oh.
Okay. Or get means, somebody call it like, when get means what? Set means when you're setting the value. Get means when you're
Setting.
returning. So yeah, somebody said get means return, um, what date time, not current value, not now. Okay. What happened? Okay. Semicolon. Syntax sometimes a bit, confusing, but I will, just to simplify, I will just write line by line. This is various implementation. Okay. Okay. So date. modified, created, better term. Okay, so I've created a variable called created on, and if somebody is accessing, they don't have to do anything. They cannot set the value. They can get the value. So let's say I want to do something on the created on. I cannot assign. It gives
Oh,
a compilation error, right?
yeah, yeah.
Stop it. Yeah. But I can straightforward, I can use it. Created on. Okay, and it will print.
Okay.
See, this
Mm.
is another way to use property. So that's why this getter setter implementation is very helpful. Okay, when you have a property and you have to have some default implementation, but don't want to write a elaborate method. It has to be there in whenever somebody sees the definition of that property. Okay, he will know that what's is happening. Okay, and after that,
Mm.
nobody touches this one. They can only use this one, but they cannot modify. Means they should not modify. Then use
Mm.
this one. Okay, there's another way use of that one during entity framework. Like when we go for entity framework, what happens is every table, let's say you have a table with student, we represent that student table as a student class. Okay, and we call those classes as POCO class, plain CLR, plain old CLR object. Okay, what
What
does it mean by
what
POCO?
class did you say?
POCO, plain
Poke.
old CLR object means
Uh,
that class we were not going to write any kind of explicit custom code. It has to be plain simple class. Okay, like
mm.
we are not going to write any explicit code or something. It has to be a no nothing. There has to be a simple class, public class. Let's say you have student table student, then inside that you have a id public int id property gets set. Okay, you're not going to do any operations over there. Okay,
Mm.
that is what called plain old CLR. Means it's our default when you write a class in from the beginning of C sharp, olden
Mm.
like from the beginning. So that's the old. CLR means
Mm.
what? CLR object means everything actually. As I said, our compilation is done by .NET framework, and .NET framework has a runtime we call as CLR,
Common
right?
language.
So
Mm.
yeah, so whenever CLR takes a class, it has to be CLR specified class. Like you do not have to do another level of compilation to make it as like when we write lot of things, threading, TPL, lot of abstractions happen. Then those abstract class is being recompiled into basic C sharp method class or implementation. Then it is given to CLR. So when you write a simple class, it CLR directly understands. There's no middle level of compilation needed. Okay, or
Mm.
don't they don't want to
Okay.
reformat or refactor the code and give it to CLR. So, but let's not go deep into that. So just understand that when we go for a entity, we just write that entity and as a like when we represent a table inside a database as an entity is nothing but a class, simple class, and each column of the table we represent as a property. Okay,
Mm.
so let's say created on is a column, id is a column, name is a column in the database,
Column.
and our table name is test based entity, or we may can give any name. Okay,
Mm.
yeah, you understood. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
let's see another play around with the properties that we can do is we can do a lot of things using property. This some of the examples I've given. Another thing is that you want to set it inside the class. Okay, that means you can you can return value means you can do one thing. You can write get but private set. What does mean by private set? Okay, that means just um, timestamp. Some column is called timestamp. Okay, so that means this you can set inside this class only. Okay, how? Maybe inside the constructor. Okay.
Oh.
Hmm. Or maybe you have a requirement. Okay, you They tell you that you have to do some operations using this property timestamp, but inside the class, but don't do outside of the class. Let's say when you initialize this method, you have to take that when it is initialized this class. Okay,
mm,
and then the rest of the rest of the child class will use that that timestamp. So you make it timestamp. So if you want to set it, you can't set, see, right? But you can
okay.
access it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is another way. There are a lot of implementation, but these are the basic you will see in your code. Okay,
Mm.
so understood property, nothing
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I'll just recap. Date
So
time.
what you're showing is also a Poco club, Poco type only, no? Like,
Which one?
or like you said, like Poco, right?
Hmm.
So
So
what you
forget about the POCO. We will discuss later. We will discuss this thing later. Okay. That is called
oh,
plain old Caesar object. So we will again. I said like we will in middle. We will make a pause and we will discuss on the tools. So we'll cover debugging. Then your how to use Visual, like little bit of Visual Studio. Then we'll recap the .NET framework. Then mm, yeah, these are the things like uh, how to debug, how to and exception handling and your um, uh, .NET framework. So then we will discuss what is CLR and how CLR works. Okay, how Roslyn works. We have already discussed, but since you're starting of the class, I don't want to go deep because people will get confused. See, first of all, you don't know what is C Sharp, what is .NET framework, but you do not know the definition also. And if you start explaining from the first class, it will be very confusing. So basically, what we do is we let's jump into language learning. So we'll cover C Sharp. Then we will go for this one. Okay, we'll go for the advanced concepts. Okay, yeah.
okay.
So that actually we need one. And talking about the POCO means plain old Caesar object. So that is a term. Okay, there's no meaning to that, or there is nothing specific to
Mm.
that. I just mentioned. So we use a term, but there's like everything is a POCO object. Okay, in C Sharp, whatever we're writing is internally handled by CSR. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so property you have covered. Now let's discuss the interface. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, Let me grab a glass of water. Okay, so interface. Now, since yeah, uh, before discussing interface, I also want to discuss one more thing. Where is the oops, abstraction? Yeah. So there is the reverse of the abstract class also. So what is the major properties of the abstract class is that you cannot create an object. You cannot create an object of this one, right?
Yeah.
You cannot create an object of the abstract class. So reverse is that you cannot inherit a class. Okay,
Mm.
you cannot inherit a class means you have you have written a class which you should only create object, but you should not inherit that one. Okay, that we call a sealed class.
Okay.
Why means let you have some arithmetical operations or some complex calculation you have done and you want the user simply to use it. You don't override. You don't write your own logic. We have written the logic. Okay. So, so, okay. So here, this class you cannot, cannot inherit. Let's say I was to inherit this one. It gives exception,
Mm.
right? And what is the need of this class? See, as I said, like like when you have two teams, one team is working on some logic and another team is working some other logic. So the team one will write a code and it will be used by team two. So then it has been decided that you will write a business logic is very very crucial, and somebody should not inherit and start writing his own implementation. Okay, because as you can see, right, even if the abstraction is mentioned, they can write the same method name, as I said, right? Validate date. Even if it is a written abstract, they can create their own implementation. No, no, don't do that. Use this sealed test class only. Okay, object of this. So you can create an object. So you can create an object and use it, but don't use it directly. Okay, you can create object of this. So all this business logic, sometimes they use sealed class. Okay, so you
Okay.
got the difference. Uh, so abstract class, you want a base class where you will provide a default functionality. Also, you want to provide or you will just provide the definition. Like I, I just provided the definition. I want a method like this. It has to be a public method, string return type, validate, modified by name, with this without any parameter or with parameters. But it is the job of the child class to provide a definition. Okay. Also,
Mm.
I have provided a default class or default implementation also. You can use directly or you can your own using. Okay. I would prefer you use it directly. So in that case, like you have a base class where you asking the child to compulsory do something, and also you have some default implementation, go for abstract. But in some cases, you do not want any kind of inheritance. It should not be inherited. It has to be used directly. Go for sealed. Okay.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. So that is the difference they will ask in the interview. But it's very deep, simple questions. Yeah. Property we discussed. Now go for this one. Interface. And interface also very important. So what do you mean by interface? Interface is basically a contract. So when we say contract, what does it mean? An interface, we cannot, interface is just like a class, but you cannot provide any definition. So it is a pure virtual class, or you can say pure virtual. Okay, interface is not a class, it's a pure virtual implementation. So as you can see, everything is abstract. Okay, so if I write a method public void, or let's say string return type test, the moment I start writing a definition, it will give error. Okay, you can only provide method signature, not the definition.
Okay.
Mhm. Not a, okay, it is interface.
Interface.
Yeah, test interface. Okay, so test interface class is one. You cannot provide a definition. The moment I start providing definition, you'll get error, compilation error. Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
what is the need of interface? Interface is a specification documents. Like you must have heard something called WCF in earlier, right? Now
Mm.
we have different design principles, like how to write a code. So design basically means how to create a basic structure, and then the how you used to write a class, how you used to write interface, how the database connections made is done by the your architect. They will write a basic structure, and then you just use those structure and write your own code. That's the job of developers. So those during the design phase, um, they also use some of the places interface. So interface is what it it is basically signature. So what I'm saying is that I have not written any kind of implementation over here. So what I'm saying is that somebody is using this interface, then he should have a property called id. He should have a method called test. Okay,
Mm.
so and I will share this interface details to the users. Like we have two teams, like team one, team two. So let's say you have an interface for database connections. Okay. So you don't want to show any kind of, you want to hide all implementation. It is another kind of abstraction. You want to hide the implementation. So you share the definition of this interface. Okay, guys, you will have an ID property and you have the test, okay, method. Okay, but you are not exposing your implementation. You're not exposing your definition. Okay. So, and now you can provide implementation to that. And interface we call as extend. Okay. In case when extend means what? See, in case of it is a child, you could have told that this class is inheriting this parent class. But here we call extend. We're extending the test interface. Okay. When you are writing colon dot this one, in case of child, in case of class, we are inheriting. In case of interface, we call it extending. We are extend. Okay. Now it is giving error. Why it is? Because you are not implementing the manual. So right click on this bulb. There's a down arrow button. Click on that. Okay. Implement interface. Click on that. So intelligence provide everything. Here, see there written. And if uh, yeah, see. So got it. So
Yeah.
then yeah, again, like it will be confusing that why again, like we can do this achieve the same thing as in class. Okay. So now I will give an example of this. Why I'm not able to write console.write line. Hello, and then okay, I will simply write this one is void. Okay, I'm not want to return anything. Yeah. So and I'll take another class. Hmm. Let's say I will just give you better connections. Okay. So whenever somebody is writing interface, it is like a convention that you can write give any name. Okay, provided it should not be keyword. Uh, I you should start with I. Okay, IDB connection. Okay. So this interface its job is to connect to the database only. Okay.
Okay.
And I call this as DBID, database ID. Okay. Then I will simply write a method called connect. Now I will connect to I will tell this I will get SQL Server connections. Okay. IDB connection. This is Oracle connection class. Fine. So and right connected to
Sequence.
and connected to Oracle. In case of abstract class, we have a luxury to provide a definition, but in case of interface, you cannot provide definition. It has to be pure virtual. Okay, you cannot provide a method definition here. But in abstract class, I have already shown you, you can still provide definition, right? This is
Yes.
abstracted, very pure virtual. So this is the normal method, right? But interface, there is no such information. So now I will write a class called initialize connection. Or okay, in the let's make it more little bit of complicated. Okay. Now, if somebody is uh, on this, okay, let's not make it complicated. Test connection. Okay. So in the test connection class, I will write a method called get connection. Okay. Public IDB connection. Get connection. And somebody pass ID integer DB if DB is equal to 1, then okay, I'll declare a property here. IDB connection. Or let's not declare property. Yeah, IDB connection. So I'll clear local variable here. IDB connection. Connection is equal to null or not null here. Okay, I'll just simply initialize IDB connection new SQL server connection else Oracle connection. Okay, and then I'll return it. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how the interface works. Okay. Since I have two classes having both extending, and somebody will call this test connection class DB connection method, and then they will. But now question is that yeah, same thing can be achieved using a base class also, right? I will just
Yeah.
write a base class, and I will just write this as virtual. Okay. Mm, yeah, or maybe I can declare abstract class, and yeah, like abstract class is more better, right? We can provide a definition also. There we cannot provide definition
Mm.
in interface. So abstract class is better for implementation. You can declare something abstract, and also you can declare, and you also can provide definition to something. But in case of
Yes.
interface, you can only provide a signature. You cannot provide definition. So interface is less functionality. So why interface is more popular than this one? Why is this
Mm.
error? Okay, I can have to write override. Okay, with these two simple changes, I can straightforward. I can use interface. So why I'm using? See, in some cases, you are something called API, application programming interface. So you create this class and you give it to somebody else. Okay.
Okay.
How I will show you. Now you package this your application and give it to someone else. So that someone else is that is called console application. Okay, this console app one.
Mm.
What you do, you add a reference to this one. Okay, there are many ways to share the your code as a package. One way is to do reference. Okay, since they belong to same solution, I can add the reference.
Okay.
Okay. Now in the program.cs, I will use using what is the namespace name? Oops. Okay. What happened? Okay, forget. Um, okay, better. I will this class getting clumsy. I will take another console application. Okay, and this is .NET Core or .NET 8. Yeah, fine. So what I'll do is I'll take another application. Okay, which is going to use our first this one. So our interface. So better
Mm.
I first create a class library. Okay, class library nothing but DL. So DLL means, just understand, it's a DLL. That's a DLL means you can write a library that's called dynamic linking library. Means you can write some code and you can share it with different applications. There are a lot of projects, a lot of applications. Okay, so database connection can be used in your console application, your web application. So how we do is we create class libraries and we share those source that code as a package to different application. Okay, that is why it is called DLL. Okay, or that is why we use DLL. Okay, so uh, I will create some project called DB connection. Okay, you are getting it right. It is not getting overwhelmed. You are slowly able to understand, right? Or it is
Yeah,
getting too heavy for you.
it's okay. Can continue. It's
That's
fine.
fine, right? And anywhere you like, you need think it is because we have very less time, right? We have to finish the course already the second week. So if you spend more time here, we cannot focus more on the MVC. Okay. So DB
Okay.
connection. So DB connection means yeah, I've taken a project called DB connections. It's a and that is a class library. Class library is nothing but the code we package and share with different application. Okay.
Mm.
Now, yeah, DB connection. So what I'll do is I'll copy that test interface, or rather, I'll cut it. I'll paste it over here. Yeah. Now I will take another project to test this connection. Okay. And here I'm not going to use class library because I have to, I want to run application. Class library doesn't run on its own. Okay. But console application will run. It's
Mm.
executable file. It will generate executable file. Okay. I'll choose a .NET Core app and I'll say test DB connection. Okay. Now I'll click on this next. I click on create. Yeah, it has created us. Now I want to use this class library. That's what I told, right? DB connection. How to use? I have to add a reference. So I click add. Project reference. Select the DB connection project. Added. Okay. Now what is the namespace name that we are using over there? Oops, right? So
Yeah.
we will namespace we have not decided. It's a very small thing, but we'll discuss in the next class. Oops. Okay. Now inside the oops we are using what is that? Sorry, DB connection, right? Not okay. IDB connection.
Mm.
So IDB connection is equal to what I'll write is that first of all I'll create the object of this one. I want to get the connection not from these classes, rather using this test connection class.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll create an object of test connection obj or simply a test connection. So I created object called test connection. Then IDB connection. IDB connection is equal to, it will give error because it is not a class, it is an interface.
Class.
Although our interface intelligence doesn't understand and return as a class type, it will give error. So we have to write our own. How to do that? Now test connection dot get DB connections. I want to initialize by SQL Server. Okay. Same thing I can do if I want to, no, I want SQL Oracle. Then I'll create another object. I'll pass 2. It will give me. So when if somebody sees this one, okay, because many times developers want to see what's there. It's an object, right? That means it DB connection class is an object. Means a developer must wants to see what's there. What are the available properties method inside that. So what I'll do is I'll do F12, or rather I'll do, or let me run it and then I'll show you. Okay. So we have to make this as a start project. So it is started project. I'm running this. Okay. Means I want to tell you the true use of this one, okay, of interface.
Okay.
If you expand and you can see why the DBID is 0. Let me see. Just give me a moment, okay?
Okay.
I passed one. Okay, fine. So I get this one connection object. Okay. Yeah, one mistake was done. Uh, fine. See, you can see oops.sql server connection has been written right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, what I want to show is the true use of that one I told, right? So now db connection dot test connect method we have to call. See, when I'm doing F12, where I'm going as a developer, can I see the definition of this one? If I put this in separate class file, let me put this in a separate class file. Ideally, we should do like that. Connection class.cs namespace. Oops. Yeah. Now, yeah. So coming to this one, when somebody clicks this object, this is basically a not a this is object, but this is not a direct reference to the SQL connection class. This is rather a reference of IDB connection, IDB connections. Okay, here also. So when somebody want to see the definition of connect, he cannot see anything. He will see the signature only, right? He
Yeah.
will only go to the IDB connection. That means it is acting as a contract between two two teams or two set of users or teams, two developers, where one is the API development part and another API usage. So you are part of creating the connection, get DB connections, okay, SQL connections and Oracle connections, but you have hidden your implementation using interface. So if somebody wants to go and see the definition how the method is written, he cannot see. Okay, and that is what the contract is. You got right? Okay. You got my point?
Yeah, I got. But
So
where?
interface, please.
Yeah, but where did we put the implementation of the interfaces? It's in
Okay,
the
let me
same.
start. So yeah, so let me start from the beginning. So you have I've declared interface, I return DBID and one method, and this is pure virtual. Then, okay, then here and in another class, in the same project, in another class file, I have something called connection class. I extended that interface. Okay, I
Mm.
created a SQL Server connection class, Oracle DB connection. Okay, another class I have written, it is not important. You can do the same thing over there also. Okay, what it will do is you'll pass an ID to a method, and it will, if it is ID 1, it will return the object of SQL Server connection. If ID is not 1, it will Oracle connection, it will return. Okay, object. So yeah, the main thing I want to highlight is that if somebody, this is, see, the right side, we are actually initializing using the interface instance. Okay, not the direct class instance. I'm not creating a class of SQL Server connection, object of SQL Server connections. Rather, I want initializing using SQL Server connections, but my reference is IDB connection. You understood,
Mm.
right? You have to see
Mm.
the reference left side. Don't look at the right side. Okay, that means I'm not bothered about how it is implemented. I'm bothered about how I'm going to use it. Okay. My job is to call the connect method. How it is internally connected, I'm not bothered about that. That is the job of the other team who has developed this connection class. Got it? Yeah.
Okay.
So see, you are a UI development team. Your job is to fetch some data, save it. Okay. Another team is that they are writing the database code. So how they're saving to SQL Server, Oracle, that I'm not bothered about. If any issues happen, they will take care. My job is to call the connect method. Then there will be save method. I'll save it. That's my job. Okay. How save and connect is written, I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
You got my point, right?
Yeah.
So because if you see, there are a lot of implementation is happening. For example, if see in the this one, like a lot of internal implementation also happen on the .NET framework side. This is part of this everything. This void main is all part of system namespace. Okay.
Yes.
So who is calling this main? Somebody must be calling, right? The code is already written. We are not bothered about that. So that is why C# is called high level English. Here you can segregate the responsibilities. Okay. Through interface, we have segregated the interface responsibilities. One is user side, one is developments. Like one is provider, another is user. Okay. So provider team will work on the database connections, how to establish the database connections, how to connect, save the data, how to do implementation, uh, exception handling, and on their side. As a user, my job is to use that functionality and just go on. Okay, I'm not bothered about how it is implemented internally. Okay,
Got it.
yeah. So if I call connect here, uh, day connections to, let's see. Okay, so yeah, interface is pure virtual and we cannot provide any definition, and you can run it. Yeah. So yeah, any doubt on the interface?
Yeah. Can you show me the connect one, the class db connection dot connect,
Yeah.
the
Okay. And
implementation?
connection class. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is very, very simple class. Okay. I have
Oh, okay.
entered the
Yeah. Yeah.
interface, return the
Mm,
connect method. And this method, this is another extra class just for testing. Okay. And
mm,
remember, I am creating the instance of interface, initializing with the classes. Okay. That means
okay.
this is a contract and this is implementation. Okay.
Mm,
And now I have hidden this one. And on the user side, once this instance is created, I am just using the methods or whatever the code available there, but I'm not bothered how the connection is happening. Okay.
mm.
That is why it is called abstraction. Now you understood, right, why it is called abstraction and what is the use of that. Okay. I need to quickly go, so I will stop here. Okay, and I think enough of the like lot of things for you to grasp. So
Yeah. Too
just
much.
give me another
Very heavy.
15 minutes. I'll share the code with you. Okay, because this is very important. I don't think you can write on your own. I'll share the source code of especially the abstract class and interface. You go to that, implement it,
Okay.
and you can, if you possibly, create another repo on the GitHub and push your source code. I will review it. Okay,
Okay.
just Google it. You will know how to create a repo in GitHub, how to push your source code. You will get some. If you're not in next class, we'll see. Okay, if you can push your
Okay.
code, then I can see how much progress you're doing.
Okay. So what do I do?
Yeah, you
I
go to the
go through
GitHub.
this, but
Yeah, I'll share the source code with you. You
yeah.
practice it, and wherever you practice, push the code to the GitHub. Okay. So how to install GitHub on your local and how to push the code, you Google it. If you don't understand, next class I will tell you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to move.
So
Thank you
yeah.
for
When are we
listening.
meeting next time? Like
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, because 3 classes per week, right? So tomorrow we have to do compulsory.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.